So I was listening this past week to a very funny comedian. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Gary Goldman. If you haven't heard of him, you should look him up. He's quite funny. And he was thinking out loud about how Greece could have ever gone bankrupt. He was thinking about the modern economy, and he was thinking about Greece and all of the extraordinary contributions they made to society, contributions in philosophy and mathematics and democracy, theater, even the Olympics. He said they were responsible for plumbing, and they were some of the greatest contributions that the world had seen 2,300 years ago, and then it stopped making any contributions. The latest contribution that he thought about was salad. Now, he went on to suggest that it's an extraordinary contribution. They're quite delicious. But he said that a squared plus b squared equals c squared is far off from feta meets watermelon meets delicious. And then he went on to say that they gave us people like Aristotle and Plato, and the latest people they've given us is John Stamos and Yanni. And it got me to thinking about the contributions that the Greeks made, and no longer. All right, we could go on all day, all right? Made me think that Jews are often put in that same type of mind frame. We're praised or judged based on our contributions. Look at all the Jews have given the world, we say all the time. From Einstein to Freud, from Leonard Bernstein to Jonas Salk, from the concept of ethical monotheism to the invention of the ballpoint pen, or jeans, or the flexible straw. Did you know that? Yes. Joseph Friedman invented Barbie. Good. This is not a communal sermon, okay? We're not just contributing wherever we want. We get this. I have to stop because we get this problem all the time. You think I'm trying to engage you. I'm not. I'm trying to put you to sleep. You just keep refusing. Don't get me wrong. We have contributed a tremendous amount in the ways of science and technology, in literature, in the arts. But here's the problem. And this is really me fitting a square peg into a round hole, because what I really want to talk about today really isn't found in this week's Parsha, even though there are so many mitzvot. What I really want to talk about today is the thought that we have to continue to justify our own existence. And not just us as Jews here in America, but Israel has to continuously justify its existence. As if we didn't, we no longer have a right to be here. Science alone in Israel has brought us so much, and it's so good, and it makes us feel so proud that we can make such great contributions. But the Torah's message is more than about existence. It's about sacred living. And I have to tell you this morning, I don't think we need to earn our right to live. I don't think we need to earn our right to exist. We exist because B'Tselem Elohim Nivra Adam, because God made us in God's image, and that makes us innately holy, and because of that, we have every right to be here. Parshat Kitetse, we read this morning, we encounter more commandments than in any other parsha. Two of them remind us of our obligation to act with justice and compassion. Kititzor kitzecha b'tzadecha, right? That if you leave a corner of your field, you forget some stuff behind. Says the Torah, leave it there. Let someone else come and pick it up. Let it be for the stranger, the orphan, the widow, so that God can bless all of our handiwork. And then just before that, it says, you shall not oppress the hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he's one of your brothers or one of the strangers in your land. And Rashi says something beautiful about this idea of leaving part of our field behind. He says the Torah considers forgetting as if it were intentional, so that it may be given to the poor. In other words, God built compassion into the very structure of the world. Even our mistakes can become blessings for others. And that's the point. The Torah doesn't say, leave your sheaf in the corner of the field so that people will recognize your self-worth. So people will see what a great contribution you're making to the people around you. God doesn't say, leave it over because you want people to see that you're making a valuable contribution. The Torah says, leave it because that's who we are. Because that's how Jews live in the world. Our acts of kindness, our tikkun olam, is not a marketing campaign. It's not a condition of our survival. The way we live is powerful. Being Jewish is powerful. It's an extraordinary way to be in this world. Yes, Israel is famous for rushing aid to nations in crisis. In 1999, after the devastating earthquake in Turkey, Israel sent one of the first international search and rescue teams. In 2010, after an earthquake in Haiti, Israeli doctors set up field hospitals within 24 hours, delivering babies and performing surgeries when local hospitals had collapsed. In 2015, Israelis flew to Nepal after an earthquake to save lives. And again in 2023, teams went back to Turkey to pull survivors from the rubble. But Israel doesn't do this in order to gain permission to exist. Israel does it because the Torah commands us to care for the vulnerable, to lift up the fallen, to see the image of God in every human being. The world sometimes suggests that Jews must earn our place, prove our worth by being smart, creative, generous, prove Israel's worth by showing how many medical teams or Nobel Prizes it produces. But Judaism teaches otherwise. B'tselem Elohim nivra Adam. We were created in the image of God, and that's why we do what we do. Existence for our people is not conditional. Every human being, every people has a right to exist because they too were created in the image of God. So yes, we must feed the hungry, comfort the sick, protect the vulnerable. We must send doctors and engineers and teachers and aid workers to the world, not because it wins us approval, it never does, but because it's what it means to be Jewish. We exist not because of what we produce, but because God created us. We thrive not because we justify ourselves, but because we live fully in the commandments that shape our lives. And when we live that way, when we live Jewishly, powerfully, compassionately, we don't just exist, we shine. May we never see and never confuse justification with obligation. May we embrace Tikkun Olam not as a defense of our existence, but as an expression of it. And may we live like forgotten sheep in the field, leave behind blessings for others, simply because we're Jewish. And that's how Jews live. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 184. Please rise.